All right, this is Vyzygoth Raw. Listen to you bleed. What a nice visual. Anyway, we have Larry, the contractor guy, with us after a little bit of a hiatus. And we're back. I think this is like part, what, Larry, 99?
I'm not sure. I think it's 11, but it could be 99.
Yeah, I mean, I'll make a series out of this one day, but I don't know, somehow I think I'll die before this thing is finished. And I'm so glad I said that. But I'll tell you what, we're doing this on Sunday, the 7th, and it has been an interesting 48 hours. And you're going to talk a little bit about it, and of course, as this is being recorded, now we get the whole damage control spin doctor thing on the SEALs. Oh, no, they weren't the SEALs that whacked Osama. Oh, they are. You know, it's back. Okay, fine, great, whatever it is, it is. And then you got to even wonder, I'm sorry to say, whether or not that was taken down by us. I know it's a really black thought, but you know what? We're never leaving the Middle East. It ought to be pretty obvious to everyone, because as soon as we start pulling out, guess what happens? So that happens. You're going to fill us in also. It's been a very active month or so, I think, for certain associations, organizations in what we now know as the European Union. That goes back to the shooting and other things, and you're going to talk about that. And also, I just want to mention one other thing, Larry, too. I mean, this, I guess, has some kind of like Weimar thematic thread to it. And it always seems to happen like when nobody's watching, or like the market is closed, but Standard & Poor's snuck in the downgrade of the American credit from U.S. credit from AAA to AA. Mm-hmm. And of course, you have half the people on one side of the fence saying, "Oh, that's no big deal." You have the other half saying, "Oh, it is a big deal."
It's a big deal.
But what makes me laugh is when I saw what they were proposing and they finally came out with. Once again, both sides suck. Because what happened was most of this stuff wasn't supposed to kick in until 2013. And it doesn't give us any relief now. And so what happens is everybody goes back to the polls this November, and one party can blame it on the other. Well, we wanted a better deal, but, you know, they did. And people go and vote for these jerks again, and they're going to get screwed again.
Yeah.
I finally talked to my sister, and I said, "Listen, shut up. This is the way it is." And get your husband on the phone, too, huh?
I said that was diplomatic.
Well, you know, I'm just saying, you know what I said to him, though, really? Honestly, it's like, look, just do yourself a favor. Forget this Republicans and Democrats. Look at your lives. Tell me how they've gotten better regardless of the administration. And the first thing you want to say, well, it's the Democrat. All right, I understand that, but don't you get it? Life still is getting worse, no matter who you vote for. Doesn't that tell you something?
I mean, these people that keep hanging on to Tweedledee and Tweedledum and don't realize that this country is run by people who are not in Washington. This country is run by an oligarchy of very powerful, wealthy people. And they run the show, and they own both of those political parties. And unless people finally realize that, they're just going to keep, you know, beating their heads against the wall and going to vote for people that don't really represent them. I don't know how long it'll take before people catch on.
The idea is for them not to, and if they ever do, I'm assuming by that time the trap will have been sprung, so it really doesn't matter anymore. Because to me, I think it's getting more and more obvious that they don't run things down there, but the more and more that happens, the more entrenched the vitriol becomes between those who support the Republicans and those who vote for Democrats.
Right.
I mean, never has it been so nasty as it is now. And I think that is correlative to how much they don't really care about you because they're doing nothing. I mean, when these corporations are leaving left and right, how the hell can you talk about the private sector creating jobs? There's no private sector. They all left.
Well, there's no infrastructure. I'm not talking about bridges and roads, but there's no manufacturing infrastructure anymore. There's very little of it left. And as a result, there's no way for people to obtain jobs that will pay them well. And I'm talking about working class people. There's no way for them to obtain jobs where they can get a good wage, you know, which will enable them to buy a house and have a decent life. It's just not there anymore. The greed of the American corporations just knows no boundaries, and the whole idea is to move it all over to the Far East, especially Singapore and China, and they've done that successfully. I mean, there's tons of factories across this country that are sitting around, collecting dust and rusting out right now. that used to be places where people went to work, that's just not happening anymore.
No.
I mean, it's just not happening. People are, we're right on the tip of the iceberg, and this has to do with the European Union. The euro crisis over there, I think, is going to get solved pretty soon because they're going to morph into a nation state. The entire, what is the European Union now will not be a collection of nations. It will be a nation state itself, and it will have a single currency, and it's going to be the world's currency. The dollar is just about to go down. I mean, I think we're right on the edge of the dollar being totally devalued and the euro becoming the world standard. And when that happens, look out.
All right,
I've got a good article on that I was going to read today. If you want, I'll read it now.
All right, do it. Let me just throw this in also.
Okay.
There are some websites, information sources, etc., that say, now we all know that the dollar being kicked off the reserve currency has been in the crosshairs for 10 years.
Mm-hmm.
That's part of this whole, massive global economic takeover and makeover, whatever you want to call it. And I had told my sister and her brother-in-law while I was giving them chapter and verse, and that this would happen. Some sites are reporting that it will happen before the end of the year. That always seems a little premature to me. But with this happening with Standard & Poor's downgrading the credit rating, my point is this. It can be whatever they want to use it for. This is not a good sign. Does it mean Armageddon financially? Not necessarily. But now looking at the end of the U.S. dollar as a reserve currency seems much more plausible, and certainly I think will happen within, the next 16 months. So, okay, be that as it may, this is what's supposed to happen soon. This event over the weekend or whatever, late Friday, makes it look that much more imminent. Now, by all means, go ahead, Larry, read that.
Sure. This is from an article called "The Euro Crisis Will Give Germany the Empire It's Always Dreamed of." It's by a man named Peter Osborne in an online magazine just called Politics. And it says, after the catastrophe of 2008, many believed and argued, as others did in 1929, that it was a one-off event which could readily be put right by the ingenuity of experts. The truth is sadly different. The aftermath of that financial debacle, like the economic downturn after 1929, falls into a special category. Most recessions are part of the normal, healthy functioning of any market economy. A good example is the downturn of the late 80s. But in rare cases, they are far more sinister because their underlying cause is a structural imbalance which cannot be solved by conventional means. Such recessions, which tend to be associated with catastrophic financial events, are dangerous because they herald a long period of economic dislocation and collapse. Their consequences stretch deep into the realm of politics and social life. Indeed, the 1929 crash sparked a decade of economic failure around much of the world, helping bring the Weimar Republic to its knees and easing the way for the rise of German fascism. By authorizing a huge expansion in the bailout fund that is propping up the EU's peripheral members, largely in order to stop the contagion spreading to Italy and Spain, the Eurozone has taken a decisive step to become a fiscal union. So long as the settlement is accepted by national parliaments, yesterday will come to be seen as the witching hour after which Europe will cease to be, except vestigially a collection of nation states. It will have one economic government, one currency, one foreign policy. This integration will be so complete that taxpayers in the more prosperous countries will be expected to pay for the welfare systems and pension plans of the failing EU states. This is the final realization of the dream that animated the founders of the common market more than half a century ago, which is one reason why so many prominent Europeans have privately welcomed the Eurozone catastrophe, labeling it a beneficial crisis. David Cameron and George Osborne have both indicated that they, too, welcome this fundamental change in the nature and purpose of the European project. The markets have rallied strongly, hailing what is being seen as the best chance of a resolution to the grueling and drawn-out crisis. It is inconceivable that yesterday's negotiations may indeed save the Eurozone, but it is worth pausing to consider the consequences of Europeans' fiscal union. First, it will mean the economic destruction of most of the southern European countries. Indeed, this process is already far advanced. Thanks to their membership in the Eurozone, peripheral countries like Greece and Portugal, and to an extent Spain and Italy, are undergoing a process of forcible deindustrialization. Their economic sovereignty has been obliterated. They face a future as vassal states, their role reduced to the one enjoyed by the European colonies of the 19th and early 20th centuries. They will provide cheap labor, raw materials, agricultural produce, and a ready market for the manufactured goods and services provided by the far more productive and efficient Northern Europeans. Their political leaders will, like the hapless George Papandreou of Greece, lose all political legitimacy, becoming local representatives of distant powers who are forced to implement economic programs from elsewhere in return for massive financial subventions. While these nations relapse into pre-modern economic systems, Germany is busy turning into one of the most dynamic and productive economies in the world. Despite the grumbling for the Germans, the bailouts are worth every penny because they guarantee a cheap outlet for their manufactured goods. Yesterday's witching hour of the European Union means that Germany has become very close to realizing Bismarck's dream of an economic empire stretching from Central Europe to the Eastern Mediterranean. Well, that kind of sums up where things are going, and I think the dollar is going to collapse, making the euro, like I said, the standard. And I think you're probably in agreement with that.
Yeah, whatever's being done, it's not going to be good for any of us. I mean, knowing what we do know, and whether you want to call it the NWO or you want to call it, Satan's takeover, take your pick on the secular side or the spiritual side, but we're all going the same way. And
right.
Whatever's done is not going to be a good thing for the people anywhere in the end. But right now, what would make sense, I guess, to everyone is to have the euro and maybe a couple other currencies of equal status so that supposedly two would act as a hedge against one, and there would be this stability. That's my guess. You hear the old basket of currency thing? I guess that's where they're going. They got to stabilize the euro because that ain't looking too good.
No.
I mean, what a world it is where Canadians can go to Europe and the United States and just go on like spending sprees. I mean, turnabout's fair play. But I mean, yes, I understand. But when I used to go visit the sis in Detroit, we go over to Windsor and I was like king. Give me 17 of those. I don't need them, but I want them. Now we got Canadians coming down here. They want to buy my shirt, my vehicle, anything. And what, and like my wife says, she goes, well, hey, I said, look, I have no complaint with it, but isn't it strange how things occur? And that truly, honestly, I mean, we and those who use the euro, are in bad shape. And you have these crazy Canucks now wanting to take over the world. Damn it.
Yeah.
I think we should go invade them. It's time. It's probably the only way we can win. So Canadian bacon wasn't all that...
They're too polite to fight us.
Oh, yeah. Canadian bacon is not fiction. Yeah, that's true. I remember, I got to do this thing. P.J. O'Rourke, back in one sensationally funny National Lampoon magazine, did a dossier on every nationality. So he hit everybody.
Oh, I remember that one.
You remember that one?
I do remember that.
Well, I got a printout of it, and the reason why it's so foolish with the way things have gone, and that is, now it's like, oh no, it's multiculturalism. You can't. I'm like, shut up. But the thing about the Canadian,
the whole point behind it was to make fun of that.
Make fun of us all. But the one thing I remember is Canadians, most boring people in the world. We'll answer to such things as, hey, lug wrench.
Oh, I remember the one about the English saying these were people who could conquer the whole world but couldn't figure out central heating.
Yes, Euro cuisine, the worst in the world. Oh, the other thing about Canadians is the most interesting thing about them, they taught the French how to play hockey, which is something that France couldn't do. And it's true. France can't play hockey, but French Canadians, the greatest skaters in the world. All right, getting back to Germany, we can play a little hockey. You know what? I'll tell you. The futuristic works, which I do put a lot of stock in, and I think I'm going to go ahead and probably read a section of Lord of the World, since nobody goes there anyway, but I'm telling you, it's really interesting, along with McKinder and the rest of the boys. But you know what? I think Europe comes out of this without a scratch on it. First of all, to me, the power never left them. It looked like it did and they managed to like not get involved in anything pretty much since World War II, and they all made nice. But I don't think anything's going to happen in Europe. I think the monarchs and all the power that's in there with the City of London and the Vatican, I think that they're going to emerge like a rose. We're going to get completely torn apart.
Well, I think this is going to be the center of the beast system, and I think that the Antichrist will arise from that situation. And I think that the Roman Catholic Church will become the official religion of the European Union, as they call it now. It's going to be morphed into something else and maybe called the Holy Roman Empire, which is what I think it will become. There's precedent for that.
Oh, and is that what King George III said he was the elector of back in the peace treaty days?
Are barons of it, and this and that of it. The Holy Roman Empire was a very strange institution, but there's going to be a revived Roman Empire. I mean, when you get into the Bible and in the Book of Revelations and also in Daniel, there were 4 great world empires, and the final one was the Roman Empire, which really never died, if you think about it, because it morphed into the Roman Catholic Church. It's just that it doesn't have the military and political element that it had before.
But hold on to that. That's true, but that's when they went ahead and outsourced that stuff. Mm-hmm. Do you know what I mean? Like what Kennedy said. We were confronted by a ruthless, a monolithic conspiracy. And I think he said ruthless, too. It can conscript what it needs. It doesn't have to have it all.
Exactly.
It's like the old Henry Ford thing. I don't need to know how to do everything. I just need to get people who do know how to do it.
Right.
And that's all. And that's what we're faced. So what I think happened was, you got the Roman Empire originally being very heavily militarily involved, and of course, what better spreads empire except military? I mean, how are you going to get people to say, we want to take you over? Are you okay with that? No. So you have to have a military. But I think what happened is when they fell, and it took some time, and Constantine got involved in this thing, it became a little bit more, shall we say, white collar, and let the Brits fill the void.
Well, what they did is they made Christianity the official religion of the Roman Empire. Once they made it an official religion of the Roman Empire, it ceased to be true Christianity. In other words, it became a counterfeit of what it was supposed to be. There's numerous volumes of works on that. The 2 Babylons, comes to mind. I forget one of them was an old English bishop who wrote about that a long time ago. But what I wanted to go into here is just kind of like a recap of what we've been talking about, and kind of show where the thread kind of keeps going here. Mm-hmm. And I've got a short quote from Blavatsky.
Madam B, yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
One of the most hidden secrets involves the so-called fall of angels. Satan and his rebellious host will thus prove to have become the direct saviors and creators of divine man. Thus Satan, once he ceases to be viewed in the superstitious spirit of the church, grows into the grandiose image. It is Satan who is the God of our planet and the only God. Satan, or Lucifer, represents the centrifugal energy of the universe, this ever-living symbol of self-sacrifice for the intellectual independence of humanity. And as from Sister H.P. Blavatsky in the Secret Doctrine. I read that so they could go into another little work here by Alex Constantine. I like to use this stuff. I think he's an excellent writer. Strange guy, but excellent writer.
Right on both counts.
Yeah. Madame Blavatsky's Theosophy movement predicted the coming of a new Messiah to usher in a new age, and having met Hitler in 1919, Dietrich Eckart was convinced that Hitler was the one. Hitler was soon given the leadership of their German Workers' Party. Eckart wrote to a friend in 1923, "Follow Hitler. He will dance, but it is I who have called the tune. We have given him the means of communication with them. I shall have influenced history more than any other German." Goes on to say, through the reunification of the Holy Roman Empire, Hitler's Third Reich would enable restoration of the feudal system. ruled by the rightful Grail and Dragon aristocracies, with the Aryan people as their new initiates. All other races would either be exterminated or would be their slaves. It was believed that the ultimate world domination would allow for the culmination of the historical pursuit of the aristocratic and occult secret societies. A new world order and a new king would evolve from the purification of the world, and a literal second coming would be achieved as the king became a god. And Julius Evola, who was an occultist, a very evil man, wrote a book called The Mystery of the Grail, and in it he notes, the Middle Ages awaited the hero of the Grail and expected that the head of the Holy Roman Empire would become an image and a manifestation of that king of the world. The invisible emperor was to become also the visible one, and the Middle Ages would be in the middle sense of central, the invisible, inviolable center, the sovereign who must reawaken the same hero avenging and restoring. Constantine says the Nazi swastika and the neo-Nazi cross with their circle are symbolic of achieving this state of axis mundi, center of the world, or mundi, king of the world, as the aristocratic occultist chose to perceive it. Then it goes on with a speech that Heinrich Himmler made in 1943 in Posen, Germany, where he says that the SS elite, this will enable us to create the preconditions for the entire Germanic people and of Europe, led, ordered, and trained by us, the Germanic people over generations, to resist the fateful struggle within Asia, certain to break forth once again. We don't know when that will be, when the mass man arises on the other side with 1 to 1.5 billion people. Then the Germanic people with its, I hope, 250 to 300 million people, together with the other European people for a total of 600 to 700 million on a perimeter extending to the Urals, or in 100 years extending over the Urals, will carry on its battle for life against Asia. Woe if the Germanic people should fail to resist in this struggle, that it be the end of beauty and culture of the creative power of Earth. That is the future. That is what we're fighting for. And Constantine goes on to say the First and Second World Wars were regarded as holy wars by these conspirators. The demonic behavior of the Nazis and their consequential refusal to show remorse or concede guilt for their crimes can only be understood in the light of their strange beliefs that are just as pervasive today with the numerous extreme right organizations. What I tried to get at there was the idea of the European Union being the latest manifestation of the revival of the Roman Empire, another Holy Roman Empire. I think that's exactly what it's going to become. It's going to morph into that, and that will be the area where the Antichrist will arise. This will be the final New World Order, the totalitarian nightmare that people have feared for quite some time, and it will be under the domination of a man who will be indwelled by Satan, as the Bible explains it.
But let me ask you about. See, I don't believe that Germany's going to rise up and be a military power. I'll stop there. Do you think I'm right or wrong?
I think you're wrong on that.
Okay.
I think there's not going to be a Germany per se. There will be a European Union or a European, nation state. They already have nuclear weapons. They already have, the ability to build weapons. France has, surprisingly enough, has quite a few nuclear weapons, and they also have a strong arms industry, as well as Germany. Germany has a huge arms industry. They've supplied many of the countries in the Middle East and in other parts of the world, and in South America as well. You've also got, I don't know if Britain's going to be in the European Union. If it is, then Britain already has nuclear weapons. They're already moving toward getting rid of NATO and having their own army. And you're talking about an area where I think it's the last statistics I heard was that the European Union, as it is now, has about 500 million people in it. I mean, that's bigger than the United States when you get down to it. I mean, we have, 350 million people? It wouldn't be hard at all for them to produce an army, very large. And I mean, Germany's one of the leading nations, if not the leading nation, as far as technology goes, and they're real good at producing weapons.
But history, and you know that there are no coincidences, and it seems
right.
it seems interesting, curious, or whatever, that Germany would get involved in 2 world wars, taking on everybody,
mm-hmm.
and you got to wonder why that was. Was it a mentality that Germany promoted, which it might have been to a certain extent, but I still feel that there was somebody pulling the strings behind that.
Oh, yeah.
I believe. All right. Now, I can say
and I
this.
think those people are in Rome.
Yes, I agree. I mean, I think the Protestant leadership in Germany around the time of World War I and prior to that, Bismarck and the boys had to be smacked around. And I think that was punishment to them. The second time, I'm wondering what that was all about, but understand one thing, too, and that Hitler did a great job on, shall we say, extirpating Jews and Protestants.
Mm-hmm. And strangely enough, the Roman Catholic Church has never excommunicated Hitler. And Hitler told one of his generals, according to one of the biographies I read, I think it was John Toland's biography of Hitler, Hitler once made the statement that he was just every much as a Catholic now as he ever was. In other words, he had never really renounced his Roman Catholicism. And that struck me as odd. Now, I've heard different stories from different people and different things. I think basically he was a Satanist, but,
mm-hmm.
he claims, at least to this one individual, and Toland's a pretty well-recognized historian. He claimed that he was still a Roman Catholic. That was in the middle of the war.
Mm-hmm. And there's no argument here. And not because I like to hear that, it's because I believe that to be true as well.
Mm-hmm.
But again, I think the European Union will rise above everything.
Oh, yeah.
And if it is all amalgamated to some extent, I mean, I don't know how you get by the language thing, but maybe that doesn't matter. I don't know.
Well, isn't it odd that Bavaria, especially that state in Germany, which was always closely associated with the Roman Catholics, with the Roman Catholic Church, that's the area where Ratzinger comes from. Joey Ratzinger. Joey Ratz. The current Pope, Benedict, he's from Bavaria, and he seems to have been placed there for some particular reason, at least in my mind. I'm not. Maybe I'm stretching it here, but is there some reason for him being there at this particular time in history?
But Larry, do you remember this? A couple of things. Joey Ratz was not a Benedictine.
Right.
He assumed that name Benedict. The last one presided over World War I and the Spanish flu. So,
yeah.
All right, but the other thing he was promoted as.
That's scary right there.
Well, yeah. But do you remember also he was promoted as a transitional pope?
Right.
Do you remember those words? Transitional pope, which necessarily meant not unto death. So I'm wondering what exactly he was around for. And remember, this guy was had the office of Inquisitor for Opus Dei. Isn't that a lovely, fuzzy and warm thing?
Opus Dei is nothing more than openly fascist. Opus Dei was, they were in league with the Spanish government of Franco. I mean, I think his name was Jose Maria Escriva, was a very close friend of Franco's. And really, when you get down to it, the Roman Catholic Church prefers fascism and has said that publicly back in the 1930s. Pope Pius XII said that was the government they preferred for Spain, and all of the fascist dictators made deals with and were chummy with the Roman Catholic Church. I should say the Vatican. And I hope nobody out there thinks I'm, knocking everybody who's Roman Catholic. I'm not afraid of anybody, down the street at the local church on the pew being an agent of some international conspiracy. But I do believe that the Vatican is a political entity that has been on world conquest, and it was all predicted in the Bible a long time ago.
Just one quick aside. If Roman Catholic parishioners are going to get mad about what we say about the Vatican, then they're the ones that have to educate themselves, because the Vatican has been a political entity for millennia. All right, and when the Jesuits got behind it back in around 1822, all was lost. Let's just say. Now, what I find interesting, and I don't know if I sent this to you, but I really should. If I haven't, let me know. I get these emails from some Christian group in South Carolina. Mm-hmm. I'm okay with like 70% of it, but they're still like, we have to vote these people in office. It's like, oh, all right, forget that. Okay, but
please give it up.
But they are hip to the Jesuit thing, and eventually I've written to them already, asking them like, well, what about this? But anyway.
I would suggest that anyone who is interested in the history of the Jesuits read an excellent book called The Secret History of the Jesuits by a man named Edmund Paris. Edmund Paris was a historian, a Frenchman, and he at one time in his life had been a Roman Catholic, and he was a World War II veteran. He wrote a fine book called The Secret History of the Jesuits, very scholarly work, and in it he exposes them and their machinations. And they are part and parcel of the New World Order.
Oh, without a doubt. And also, excuse me, I've increased that bibliography, which I don't know if you got or not, but I have it, and that's all of us who ever read anything about it have compiled a bibliography with over 70 works that date back to the mid-1800s. For anybody who thinks this is baloney, guess again. So, yeah, and that's...
I was going to say, The Secret History of the Jesuits is online.
Yes,
I can't remember where I got my copy of it. And it has a foreword written by a man who had been a Jesuit priest. And some people believe that he may have been assassinated for exposing them. His name was Rivero, I can't remember. He was a Spanish priest who became a Jesuit. And then he renounced them and became a born-again Christian. It's just a really fine work, and it's extremely well documented, and it's an eye opener. It'll really blow your hair back when you read it.
What was that last title you mentioned? Say that.
It was The Secret History of the Jesuits by Edmund Paris.
Right, I've got that. Okay, I didn't know if you said something else.
No.
I did not get around. I'm going to send you his bibliography. I didn't get around to denotating which ones were online. Mm-hmm. There's another one too that's a killer, and that is bad choice of words. And that was all right. Hold on, the Engineering Corps from Hell, I think it is.
Didn't want to get a lurid title there.
Oh man. Yeah, here it is. Edwin Sheridan, Engineer Corps of Hell, or Rome Sappers and Miners. There you go.
Wow.
Yeah. Oh, I mean, I got a ton of these. And also, Charles Wilcox had gone on through looking through newspapers in the United States and major U.S. dailies that said that we're decrying the influence that Rome might have in the United States. And in this biography, I'm reading about Garfield. He makes a crack that the Republican Party had been defeated by... hold on a second. Play the Jeopardy music. I got it right here. Hey, did you hear that Alex Trebek chased down a burglar who had, and broke his ankle?
Yeah, and like pulled a tendon or something.
There you go, Al. But that's the way for all of us, you know. We have a 16-year-old head, but we have a 90-year-old body. Sorry, Alex.
Yeah.
Actually, we should make that a question. Who acted like a jerk in a hotel chasing down a thief? Is it Alex Trebek?
God, you know, it's like, why do you want to take a risk of getting hurt? You know, like, I don't know.
I know, but it was a female, so that, you know.
Yeah,
but they can still shoot guns.
They stole his wife's jewelry, so he was going to, you know, show off for the old lady, I guess. I don't know.
All right, I'm looking through this thing, and I know I have it dog marked, dog-eared or something like that. Hold on, but he made a crack. See, now, the reason why this is huge is because I've been trying to read more about Garfield, because that's an assassination that needs to be looked at a little bit closer. And he also popped off about Romanism.
I have to admit, I don't know much about Garfield. I kind of put him in the same category as Millard Fillmore. You know, I don't...
Yeah, Franklin Pierce.
Those guys back in the 19th century. You know, and I know that Garfield was assassinated, but I never really spent too much time on it. The one thing that, the one political assassination that is very curious is that of Abraham Lincoln. And Abraham Lincoln definitely did have problems with the Jesuits. And I think Charles Wilcox really,
brought that out.
Yeah, he's pretty well nailed that.
All right, consider this excerpt from a book written by Alan Peskin, Garfield, I think around 1978, and it said, on the election eve of 1876, as Garfield watched the returns come in, it seemed as if his worst fears were about to be realized. The Democrats had clearly captured the House of Representatives, and he saw his hopes for the speakership, quote, gone down the drain in the general wreck of his party's fortunes. It appeared that the presidency was lost as well. This is the Hayes-Tilden one, okay? Surveying the wreckage, Garfield concluded that, quote, we are defeated by the combined power of rebellion, Catholicism, and whiskey. An analysis which anticipated in substance the Reverend Dr. Bouchard's famous rum, Romanism, and rebellion remark, though it lacked that minister's alliterative flair. So there's Garfield popping off about Romanism or Catholicism. That's something you don't do. But my point is, you've got an assassination in 1864, another one in 1881, and another one in 1901. And you know what's really weird is that Robert Todd Lincoln was a principal, was there for all three.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying anything about Lincoln, but obviously his father, but he was also in office. He was an office holder. I don't know if it was in both the administrations, but he was just a curious, I guess, bystander in three assassinations in what? What are we looking at here? 37 years? 27 years. Yeah, 64,
well, I think,
11.
The Kennedy assassination, I think that there was a connection there, even though he was not only a Roman Catholic, he was an enemy of certain elements within that organization. And I think that they, along with the CIA, Big Oil, and the Mafia, and the Federal Reserve people, the oligarchy which really runs the United States and the world, he had gone off the reservation and he was going to do things that eventually got him killed. And I think messing with the gold standard, wanting to go back to a gold standard and wanting to get rid of the Federal Reserve or reduce its role, and there's so many other things he did. But I think he ran afoul of the Jesuits as well as the other people you just mentioned.
But can you imagine, if we're a civilized country, how do we have 3 assassinations in 37 years?
Right. And how come it's always a lone nut? Very strange. It's always a lone nut.
Well, when you dig deeper, there's one listener who has a real knack for researching, and I mean, I don't know who she is, but she's good. And spurred on by the question, like, what was the deal anyway with Garfield and Guiteau, his assassin? She went down this rabbit hole, and I tell you what, I mean, using newspapers of the day and other things, she pulls it out. I mean, here again, there's a report that Guiteau was accompanied by 2 people, but the equivalent of whoever was sitting in the Attorney General's office at that time said, we're not interested. Okay? And a soldier in charge of watching Guiteau tried to assassinate him and blew it. Does that sound like a Jack Ruby thing?
Very much so. I mean, it's
the same story
all the time.
I know.
And what's going on in Europe now, especially the Norway massacre? I'm sorry, but that wasn't just one guy. That was a conspiracy. That was organized. There was more than one person there.
Do you want to go there?
Sure.
All right. And
sure.
Before you do, let me throw this at you. And remember that we had an assassination attempt 8 years before Lincoln. Buchanan's inaugural party was poisoned. He got sick, but not unto death. 30 died. Can you dig that at a hotel in Washington, D.C., the inaugural party? And that doesn't even go down in the history books. So you had, 8 more years? So you're looking at 45 years, 4 attempts, 3 successful, and we call ourselves politically civilized. Yeah. Okay. Now, Norway shooting, did you see the second accomplice who disappeared, the Bermuda head colored guy?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
All of a sudden, and it's always the same way. it's always, well, there were these second shooters. There were different people, other than the person who is accused of doing it, and they always show up. They always get arrested, and then all of a sudden they just kind of mysteriously disappear.
You had the first, I shouldn't say the first, but one of the original broadcasts of Gabby Giffords' assassination was there was a second person.
Exactly.
Who went, oh, no. It looked like Charles Manson, but that's okay.
Yeah, and now we don't hear anything about that.
No.
It all went away.
Is
there any, is there like a police record? I mean, is there a report on this guy? Was there an interrogation done of this guy? What did he say? Nobody ever brings that up. And it's the same thing all the time. And I think, it's part of the whole New World Order, fascist assassination. I mean, assassination has been the method of choice for the New World Order for an awful long time, and especially dating back to the days, of pre-Nazi Germany during the Weimar Republic. The far right would go in and just kill off anybody on the left or even in the center who they thought might be some kind of a threat to them, and the police would just blow it off, and because they were in league with the far right.
I hate to say this, but it would make a great lampoon movie, like Blazing Saddles.
Yeah, Lone Nuts.
Yeah, lone gunman assassins apply here, or College for Lone Gunmen.
Yeah,
because it's crazy, because they're not lone gunmen, but they are people who are on the periphery.
You can look at all the most famous assassinations or assassination attempts in the 20th century of political figures in the United States, and they all have that whole lone nut scenario. Every single one of them, and all of them have instances of people that may have been involved, but it all gets covered up. I mean, the assassination of Robert Kennedy is one of the most weird. I mean, the events that happened. There's no way that Sirhan could have shot the round that killed Robert Kennedy, because he was always in front of him and never more than about 5 feet from him, or closer to him than about 5 feet. And yet the bullet that killed Robert Kennedy was a small caliber round shot behind his ear. And there was just no way. The angle and the place where the shot came, there's no way it could have been Sirhan. But they insisted that it was, and they covered up. They even destroyed evidence. And the American public, it's like there's an elephant in the living room. That old joke about the elephant in the living room, and everybody just ignores it. And it's like,
well, it's called a TV, and everybody believes it.
Yeah.
What's interesting? I hate to use the word interesting when people are murdered, but
it's just one of those things that.
Well, you look at the two Kennedys. One was killed in an expansive place. The other was killed in a closed space. And I'll tell you, the American Movie Channel ran Mobster Week, and they ran The Godfathers a number of times. And this may not come as an aha to everyone. I like to watch it. I'm not, Paul Santu and I had a discussion once, and he goes, everybody thinks The Sopranos is so cute, but if your father got killed, when you were a kid, if your father got whacked by somebody, a wise guy, it wouldn't be so much fun, We forget that there's murder and thievery going on here.
The mafia it's gotten to the point where they've turned the mafia into just like the
celebs,
a social club, where some guys, they did a few things that were wrong, but hey, aren't they interesting? Aren't they cute? Don't they say funny things? Don't they do funny things?
Pass the meatballs.
They ain't funny, man. These are vicious, murdering bastards.
Well, and good point here, but here's where I'm going with this. And I'm wounded badly by the fact that Andy Coleman said I am dyslexic of speech, and he's right, damn it. But shut up, Andy. But here's the thing. I'm watching Al Pacino doing a great job in Godfather 1 and 2. And as he plays his role the way he's supposed to play it, I looked at my wife, and I know this isn't a big deal. I said, the more I watch this, and man, I have watched it a million times. Mm-hmm. I'm like, you know what? I just started losing this thing about him having to be a certain way at a certain time into he's somebody who is always on the out fringe of his family. And when they put him in that place, the guy who was supposed to be least likely to be successful was the most brutal. Mm-hmm. And in a way, sometimes he looks like a satanic figure. It really does, you know.
Yeah.
The darkness all around, the glaring eyes. And what he said, though, before they went ahead in Godfather 2 and whacked Hyman Roth, and, made the rounds a second time, okay? He said, if history should have told us anything, if history tells us anything, it should have told us that you can kill anybody. Mm-hmm. And that's it. They could have stopped right there with a clang, and it would have been understood.
Well, they killed the President of the United States in the middle of the day, like high noon, in the street, of a major American city with thousands and thousands of witnesses. Not only killed him, but pulled it off and covered it up successfully, and had all the major media just going along mouthing the official story.
Hey, but Larry,
then they had the Warren Commission, which was the whitewash from the start, and was chaired by people like Alan Dulles and John J. McCloy, who were bitter enemies of Kennedy. I mean, Alan Dulles was a Nazi. His whole career was basically that of international thuggery. And the guy, he was thrown out of the CIA. Kennedy fired him because of the Bay of Pigs, which Kennedy was set up on. And then you got John J. McCloy, who was the guy who was the High Commissioner in Germany, who let all the major Nazi financiers and industrialists off with a slap on the wrist. These were the people that, and he was also an enemy of Kennedy. And they put these guys on the...
What are you trying to say? Come on, are you trying to say it was rigged? It was rigged?
Yeah.
Larry, saying it so.
I know I'm subtle.
Well,
I'm subtle in my delivery, but gosh, all this stuff is so obvious. You don't have to be that sharp to figure this out, that there are movements behind the scene.
All right, I'm going to ask you
behind the scenes.
Let me ask you a question. You're going to do a hit on a person. All right, you have your the usual favored. It's going to be a close-up job, right? So you're going to probably get a 22. But anyway, you're going to hit your subject. You can hit anywhere in the body. Where do you hit them? What part of your body? What part of the body do you hit somebody if you got one shot?
In the head.
There you go. Now here's where I'm going with this. Take that as being the most effective way to do a quick assassination if you have to, and think about also, take this for what it's worth, the ritualistic killing of the king, which goes back to Osiris and a head wound.
Yeah, it's a Masonic ritual.
Well, then, and I'll tell you what, it even goes beyond.
Oh, much more.
Right.
The Masons, they're modern day guys.
This goes back to Babylon. Sure.
Yeah.
Now think about this.
From Satan is where it comes from.
Absolutely. It goes right back to the roots. And that's why, and I guess maybe you're a little aware of this. I don't know. It's not a big deal. But I tend not to bang on Freemasons anymore because I tell you what, it goes beyond them.
Oh, way beyond.
And I'm not saying that the upper degrees and however far that goes beyond 33, and I think it does.
The overwhelming majority of people that are in the Freemasons are just people who want to, further their careers and have friends who can help them out in business, etc.
And a cheap
bar.
bar.
More of a fraternal thing. Yeah.
Cheap drinks.
Get together and play cards, whatever it is. It's like a fraternal thing. It's not to those guys in the lower degrees. They haven't got a clue.
The Blue Lodge does
what's
not
going
know.
up,
No.
Going on way above them. And that top level of Freemasonry is probably, according to many things I've read, a very low level it's like the starting rung for the next level, the next pyramid structure.
If you believe that there is a ritualistic killing of the king, Lincoln, headshot. JFK, headshot. RFK, headshot. Sloppy assassinations that were successful, Garfield, torso. McKinley, torso. Both of those guys lingered on. But here's what really cracks me up. Now, in 1901, at the Buffalo Exposition, President McKinley shows up. By now, we have a Secret Service group who's got to know that they've all been alive. Let me see now. 1901, all right. They at least know vividly what happened with Lincoln. They had to be alive for Garfield's. 20 years after Garfield's, okay, there's a line that's going to go up and shake hands with the president, right? And a guy comes up with his hand wrapped in a towel. Is there a problem here?
That's some pretty fine Secret Service work there. I think the Secret Service did an excellent job.
Was there only one guy there that day that was looking? I mean, guy with the towel, come out here.
It's like during the Kennedy assassination. I mean, they did some real interesting things as far as the Secret Service goes. For one thing, they had nobody up on the grassy knoll. They had nobody roaming around there, in Dealey Plaza, knowing that that's the route. They took a route that they knew they would have to slow the car down below. I think it's like 45 miles an hour is the minimum speed that they can, that they've determined they need to do to keep somebody from, taking a shot at a moving car. The entire Secret Service group, that was supposed to be protecting Kennedy that day, had been over in Fort Worth the night before, hanging out in a bar called the Cellar, which was a really infamous joint back in those days. And these guys, all got wasted. I mean, you're supposed to be protecting the President of the United States. It's illegal for you to be drinking, and they were doing that. And there's a bunch of other things. I can't think of them right now. I mean, I wish I had my list, but it was one thing after another where the Secret Service just. Oh, and one other thing is they were supposed to have an Army unit there to help out, with security, and they told them to stand down.
Also, aren't we supposed to solder the manhole covers and make sure all buildings have closed windows?
All kinds of things.
And why do we put the?
How in the heck could you have an open window? I mean, somebody should have been on a radio going, get that window closed, find out what's going on up there.
Oh, he's only eating a sandwich.
Yeah.
The guy in the window's only eating a sandwich. And why do you put the president through a chicane?
Yeah.
A tight right-hand turn and an even tighter left-hand turn, slowing everything down. I mean, oh, my God. And
here's another thing. If somebody wanted to shoot the president from the sixth-floor window of that depository, he would have had a perfect zero-angle shot. He could have shot the president and everybody else in that car. He wouldn't have been able to miss because the car's coming straight at him, not at an angle.
Right.
It's coming straight at him. All he would have to do is just wait for exactly the right time. He could have opened up and shot him 3 or 4 times.
Hey, listen.
But no, he waits until he goes on an incline at a steep angle and is moving away from him. Shooting at a moving target at a steep angle. That makes a lot of sense.
Well, let me just tell you, Larry, Lee Harvey Oswald was a crack shot.
Oh, yeah, he was a crack shot.
With his bolt-action rusted old rifle, and he said, you know what?
Yeah, this is the same Mannlicher Carcano that they had to clean because it was so rusty and so pitted. They had to clean this thing out before they could even test it.
Yeah, but
this was the bolt-action, crappy World War II rifle that he was supposed to have used, which had been sitting in a warehouse for like 30-something years. Whatever it was, 20 years. Oh, God almighty.
But you see, you don't understand the hubris of Lee Harvey Oswald. He had that head-on shot, and he said, no, I want this guy to go ahead, go underneath me, and then go through trees.
Yeah. He wanted to prove just how good he was, right? Yeah.
I can't believe you said that. You're not an American.
And that's right, yeah.
You're an animal.
And when you see the Zapruder film and you see Kennedy's head go back and to the left, why, it's almost, that makes perfectly good sense. He's being shot from behind, so his head goes backwards.
Honest to
instead
goodness.
Of forwards. I mean, that's like, what is that, the fourth law of physics, That there's always a opposite, for every action there's an opposite and equal reaction?
Mad Magazine has that listed. But, I mean, and we won't go there, but even the Zapruder film is a little questionable.
Yeah, that too. Oh, well, they got the Zapruder film, and Zapruder himself was a member of the White Russian community. Did you know that? The White Russian community was basically the people who had fled the communists and were extremely right-wing. So, I mean, that probably was a setup as well.
No, but, I mean, here's where I'm coming with this. He's on the grassy knoll, is he not, kind of?
Yeah.
All right. Shots are ringing
out. Up, there's like I don't know what you would call it, but a little constructed area there.
Well, the thing is, he's there.
Yeah.
People are dropping on the ground while bullets are zinging around.
Yeah, he just keeps filming.
And he just keeps filming.
Yeah.
I had that one guy that came on. No, go get this. I questioned that, and I had a guy come on, who's pretty much a vanilla JFK researcher.
Yeah.
And he said, well, his daughter was holding him up. I'm going, what, is she deaf? Does that mean anything? Zing.
Deaf, blind, and stupid.
Okay, no, all right. He's got vertigo, so she's helping him. I'm like, so nobody hears anything, right? Anyway.
Yeah.
So that's another thing. So, all right, let me get you back because I've taken you so far afield, which I meant to.
Yeah, we're
going back to Norway, where probably some of my cousins got killed. And what was that about? First of all, the guy obviously had a makeover to look like Chevy Chase. I mean, really, he looked. I'm going, come on, this isn't funny. But yeah, he supposedly sat there with his. All right, now, do you remember what kind of weaponry he had? Was he dealing with revolvers?
I never did really catch what the weaponry was, but I'm sorry, these are young people he's shooting at. Quite a few of them, the ones I saw that were interviewed, were big dudes. I mean, well over 6 feet, 200 pounds. Somebody who, would have had a chance to try to knock him down and take that gun away from him. He shoots, 70 some odd people, in a very short period of time. I mean, how much ammo did this guy bring with him?
Well, it's the old story. And then they supposedly had a second shooter, and that's gotten quelled. Yeah,
there was a second shooter. They arrest this guy, or there may have been more than one. There may have been like two or three
more than two. Yeah. All right.
Yeah. And yet we can't really get the news of that. We really can't get down to the brass tacks of that because they always seem to want to cover those stories up. But at any rate, I'm just going to go over like a litany of things here. Bering Breivik was no lone nut. There were witnesses at the camp massacre that spoke of at least one other gunman. The Norwegian police have arrested others, and one thing that comes up as very interesting about him is that he had links to a group in England called the English Defense League, which is, from what I can tell, a fascist group portraying itself as just an anti-immigrant party. And I'll speak about them in a few minutes. Expo magazine in Sweden, which is pretty famous because of its late editor, a man named Stieg Larsson, who wrote several novels. I'm trying to think, the girl who did this and the girl who did that. Anyway, it was about fascism in his novels, and he was talking about how the Swedish aristocracy was very much in league with the Nazis during World War II, and they still are very far right. Anyway, Expo magazine has identified that Breivik was a poster on a Swedish Nazi internet forum, and the general politics of that is obviously pretty right-wing.
Yeah.
And Breivik spoke of himself as being part of a group that would seize control of Western Europe. And the thing that really irritated me about it was that he's being portrayed in the media, or at least some of the media, as being a fundamentalist Christian. Well, there's a problem with that, in that, A, he's a liar and a hypocrite, as well as a murderer if he says he's a fundamentalist Christian, because Jesus Christ never taught anyone to do violence to others. In fact, he taught the opposite. There is no place in the New Testament where Jesus exhorted his followers to go out and kill those that they disagreed with or didn't like. There's just absolutely no way that this man could be a Christian. So, and I'm really not sure that that's what he said, because I've seen other accounts where people are saying that all he said about Christianity, he didn't even believe in God, apparently. All he said about Christianity, it was a cultural force that could unite Europe to take on the Muslims. And I think that's a very important point, because that's exactly what is happening, is that I think you're going to see the Roman Catholic Church step in at some point and up the ante on this attack on the Muslims. This is all leading up to the Third World War, in my opinion.
Now, I want to throw something in here. And when I tried to do this years ago with the Collins Chipmunks, they got all upset about the racist element of this, and I'm like, all right, I got it. But here's what I want to know. There is, and this gets used by racists. Don't get me wrong. I checked around yesterday, and I'm like, all right.
I know where you're going, and I've got something right here that
Ray spells the camp of the saints?
Yeah, well, sort of.
All right, go ahead.
Let me read this to you. And it was written about 4 or 5 days ago in the AP. Its fears of the far right rise and crisis hit Greece. They descended by the hundreds, black-shirted, bat-wielding youths chased down dark-skinned immigrants through the streets of Athens and beating them senseless in an unprecedented show of force by Greece's right-wing extremists. In Greece, alarm is rising that the twin crises of financial meltdown and soaring illegal immigration are creating the conditions for a right-wing rise. And the Norway massacre on Monday drove authorities to beef up security. The move comes with spiraling unrest that has unleashed waves of rioting and vigilante thuggery on the streets of Athens. The UN's refugee agency warns that some of Athens' neighborhoods have become zones where fascist groups have established an odd, lawless regime. Greek police on Monday said they have increased security checks at Muslim prayer houses and other immigrant sites in response to the Norway shooting rampage. There has been an increase in monitoring at these sites since the events occurred in Norway. Greece's fears are shared across Europe. Last week, the European Union counter-terror officials held an emergency meeting in Brussels on ways to combat right-wing violence and rising Islamophobia, warning of a major risk of Norway copycats. The massacre by Anders Breivik prompted continent-wide soul-searching about whether authorities have neglected the threat of right-wing extremists as they focus on jihadist terror. Greece, however, may be particularly worrisome because of the intersection of extreme economic distress and rampant illegal immigration, which can create fertile ground for the rise of rightist movements. Immigrant scapegoating has been rife here as unemployment balloons amid economic catastrophe. Well, I'll tell you what I see happening. I see the New World Order encouraging the rampant illegal immigration into Europe.
Right, exactly.
And I think they have been encouraging the Muslim Brotherhood. I know they have been encouraging the Muslim Brotherhood to ramp up the violence and ramp up the rhetoric and make people afraid and thus create a conflict there, which is leading to a rise in fascism, a move to the right. And it's playing both sides against the middle. And I believe that eventually you're going to see the Pope step in as the leader of, quote, and I do mean, quote, Christendom. And I believe that the war of civilizations which they want to bring in the New World Order is going to be on. And I think that this was all leading up to the Third World War.
Well, Ray Spell's book, The Camp of the Saints, talked about third worlders flooding into Europe, and Europe being reluctant to do anything about it. I mean, basically being, I guess, reasonable people, if you would say that.
Yeah.
And this is written back, I think, in 1976. But what struck me, I mean, I'm not for the book or about the, I mean, to me, I want to know why Ray Spell did that. Was it just a complete figment of his imagination, which I kind of doubt? Or, like a lot of futuristic writers, did they put two and two together and figure out, hey, this is what's going to happen? Or did they actually get told? We'll never know about Philip K. Dick and a lot of other people who wrote. But remember, those futuristic novels never portend anything positive about the civilization to come. Having said that, so what have we seen in the meantime? We've seen a forced immigration into what has been traditionally productive, and let's face it, Anglo-Western European nations as well as the United States and Canada. All right, is this a racist thing? If somebody wants to call it that, you call it that. All I know is this. I don't blame anybody from leaving a place that sucks to come to some place that portends something better for them. What I'm saying is that nations that have been deprived, have been kept in that situation deliberately by the powers that be.
Oh, yeah.
So I can't blame a Mexican or a Guatemalan that wants to come in here and go, man, I understand that. I understand that happening in Europe. And that was going on in Canada back in the 70s, by the way. It was funny. When I was in Vermont, I used to play rugby with a bunch of guys from a law school. God, that was another experience. But you know what? This guy from Buffalo was saying, oh, yeah, he goes, well, and this is like 77. He goes, yeah, he goes, when I lived in Buffalo, we used to get beard up, and then we'd go into Toronto and go packy bashing.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
So here's my point. You understand why people in the United States would get upset about illegal immigration, especially at a time when, jobs are getting fewer, so let's just bring more people in.
It's a double whammy.
Exactly.
And it's done on purpose.
It is.
It's being done on purpose to create a far-right movement. This country is moving toward the right. That's what the Tea Party is all about. The Tea Party is in league with the English Defense League. I mean, these people are linking up. And they're being funded by powerful oligarchical forces. In particular, I don't know if it's Koch or Koch brothers, Koch brothers.
Let's call them Koch.
They are very wealthy
individuals,
capitalists, and they are funding this Tea Party thing. And the Tea Party is big on illegal and hating illegal immigration. And the Tea Party is pumping it up, and they're making this big thing about Sharia law coming to America and
bullshit.
blah blah.
I'm so sick of hearing that.
Yeah, it's overblown crap. But there are many people who are out of work and angry, and they need a scapegoat, and that's as good as any for them. And there you go.
The Sharia law thing is absolute fiction. But you know what's funny, Larry? And you've been around for this as long as I have. This stuff has been going on for like 8 years. Mm-hmm. Canada's upset. They're not bringing Sharia law. Heck, we don't have any law here as it is anyway. So, I mean, but that's one of the things they hold out to get everybody ramped up. And you're right. The thing that bothers me about, I got to, all right, at this juncture, let me just say this. First of all, I'm wondering, because of the downgrading of the American credit, also, I'm thinking that when the elections come out in 2012, because it's going to be promoted that the sides couldn't, both Republican and Democrats couldn't get it together, I'm wondering if they're going to turn around both parties, even their own, Republican, and point to the teabaggers as being the problem because they wouldn't play along. That they were that, shall we say, divisive, that they created this thing. Because
I think what's going to happen is that the Tea Party is going to become the Republican Party in general. Right now, they are kind of a small, fractured group to some extent. It's kind of loosely based. But I think they're going to gain in strength, and I think this whole fascist, rah-rah for a war in the Middle East is coming. I mean, I really think that's coming. And this, illegal immigration is part and parcel. It's just obvious that this is being done on purpose. I mean, here what really makes me angry is now we've got Rick Perry, I would say Rick Goodhair Perry, our esteemed governor here in Texas, who has done nothing about illegal immigration. The last time that he did anything about it is he went down on the border with a film crew and a couple of guys dressed up in, a couple of DPS, that's Department of Public Safety in Texas, and these guys, they wear Western hats and all this stuff, and he's standing there, and he's, got his leg up on a fence, and he's looking out across the Rio Grande. We're going to do something about it. The Obama administration has done nothing. Well, Obama had been in office for 2 years. Perry's been in office for 10 years, and he's done nothing about it. And George Bush, his buddy, who was the previous Republican governor of Texas, did nothing about it while he was there. So, I mean, who's kidding who, man? They don't care about illegal immigration. In fact, they encourage it because it drives down wages on this side of the border, and they can't be unionized. I mean, if you're illegal, you can't very well sign up to be in a union. There's all kinds of benefits for the people that really run the show on this side of the border.
And
they're not going to stop illegal immigration. Not only that, but it's all tied in with drugs too. The smuggling in of drugs, which is a big industry, and you know who runs that. And it ain't the cartels in Mexico.
No, but consider this also. All right, and I'm just throwing this out to you.
Mm-hmm.
I'm wondering, and I said this before, there might be a backlash against the Tea Party. They vetted. Here's what happens. They know that there's a group, a large amount of Americans, let's say, that know things aren't right. They got a little bit of knowledge about the way things really work from Glenn Beck and Ron Paul, but they don't tell them the whole story. So they go off half-cocked thinking they got it, and they support people like the teabaggers who are out there. Here's what all right, and this is just strictly speculation, but I'm going to throw this out at you. I'm wondering if and I told you that there won't be a backlash against them as being too divisive, so nothing really happened with any kind of substantiveness with the debt ceiling situation, blah, blah, blah. Actually, that's why we got whacked. It's because it didn't do anything, and anything that's supposed to happen is going to happen, like I said, in 2013. However, check this out. I'll give Harry this much. Harry had a formula, which to a certain extent plays true. And that is, he said, see who the keynote speaker is for whatever party, okay, for that year's election, and see if they don't become president the next time around. All right, Obama gave the keynote speech for the Dems back in, what was it, 2004. I believe that's correct. Hold on a second, let me think.
Yeah, I believe that's right.
All right. Who gave the keynote speech for the Republicans in 2008? Rudy
Giuliani.
Now, check something out. Rudy Giuliani just got done hosting, if you can believe this or not, the American Movie Classics Mobster Week, which... Well, I didn't expect that kind of reaction there, Larry. Holy Mac, I got to tone that thing down on the audio.
It just struck me.
Is that too good?
I'm telling you.
But it's not over yet. Check this out.
Oh, my God.
So Rudy recounts his tough days as being, and I have to admit, when he was whatever the hell he was, he's the federal prosecutor in New York City. Mm-hmm. He did kick a lot of ass. And he had hair then, too, which probably helped. But anyway, so now he's doing that. But remember something else. What's coming up next month? The anniversary.
What's coming up next month?
The anniversary of?
Yes.
9/11.
Yes.
Who's going to come out? Because he was mayor of the city at that time. Mm-hmm. But Rudy. So Rudy gives the keynote speech in 2008. Now he was on AMC recalling his kicking ass and taking names against the mob. We're going to have the anniversary, 10 years, of 9/11. They're going to bring Rudy out, who was mayor. Do you think it would not be unrealistic? And here's my call. That he gets pulled out and maybe Jeb Bush, okay? Forget Michelle Bachmann. I mean, hold this for me, will you,
Well, I'll tell you what. I mean, one thing that's scary about Rick Perry is I remember talking to you about it. I even sent you the article from the Dallas Morning News. Or I can't remember, it was 3 or 4 years ago, that they brought Rick Perry in front of the Bilderbergers to give a speech, and there was really why did the governor of Texas go and speak in front of the Bilderbergers? Well, that's another thing, is that Barack Obama, just before he became nominated, gave us, a speech before the Bilderbergers, or at least was involved in one of their meetings. And I think that's the way that they vet people. I'm not really sure it's going to get nominated. It doesn't matter to me. I mean, we're going to get screwed.
But I think what's happening is that they may kill. I don't know. I'm assuming they may kill the Tea Party. Honest to goodness, and bring in somebody. But the thing, and it really, do we care?
Well, I think the Tea Party's job, although probably the majority of the members don't even realize it, the real purpose that they've pushed forward is to kill the government of the United States. It is to bring this country totally down. It's all preparatory work to bring this country down, and probably what's going to happen to this country eventually is that it will be fractured into different regions. It'll no longer be a United States of America. It'll just be, different regions. And I think we'll become a vassal state of the New World Order
I don't doubt
centered in Europe.
But, it's funny, though, and you'll appreciate this humor, because some people have said, well, I don't know if the United States symbolically isn't there in Revelation Scripture. I'm saying I don't see where it's there at all, but that's okay. I mean, take a look, see what's there.
I
don't believe it is either.
I haven't seen any place where it's there.
But here's what I find interesting. With what's happening to us economically, We are being recolonized back to the days before 1776. And who the heck is still our benefactor but the European power that funded the enterprise here? And I'm asking people to consider this. We did not beat the British in the Revolution. King George III drafted the terms, and basically all he said was, okay, you don't want to call yourself colonies? Call yourself states. No problem. Nothing changed. And here's my point. We purchased land from the French. We purchased land from the Spanish to expand this country. Louisiana Purchase, the Gadsden Purchase. Did we ever pay England for the original 13? No. We never bought it. There was no purchase, and we didn't take it by conquest. So who the hell do these 13 estates belong to? Huh?
I guess the British Empire.
And well, I would say so. And when Harry was over here, he was checking out the properties for the landlord.
Yeah.
Oh, that wasn't Harry. It was William, right? No.
Yeah, William.
Yeah, William and Kay came over here to check out the properties.
I really don't know. You know.
All right.
I think it goes way beyond, the United States really is. We're important in a way, but we're really not important. No. We're just going to become a region. We're going to become part of the North American Union, is what I think. It'll be the United States, Canada, and Mexico will be an economic zone, much like the Eurozone is now.
All right,
we'll be kind of relegated to a secondary status. I think we're going to get our butts kicked over in the Third World War. I think the United States is going to get right in the middle of that action, and I think we're going to get clobbered. And right now, there's an interesting article called "The Engineer Intends to Wreck the Train." It was written, I think it was Paul Krugman. I can't remember, one of the big writers in the New York Times.
Yeah, it's Krugman.
Yeah, it was talking about how our government was run into the ground by the Bush administration. And the whole idea behind all these tax cuts for the rich was more than just, giving the rich, what they wanted as far as taxes go, but it was also the idea of pumping up a war. And so what you do is something that's never been done in history. Nobody's ever attempted to wage a major war campaign and cut taxes at the same time. So what you've got is you cut your revenue and you increase your expenditure enormously. And then when you combine that with the Wall Street mess in 2008, I believe all of that was, engineered just to rip off the public and make themselves more wealthy and to create more of a monopoly capitalist situation there, where they would gobble up the smaller banks, and now they're back to giving themselves big bonuses at Christmas time, and Wall Street has just screwed this country to the point where we'll never be able to pay off that deficit. We are headed for an economic crisis, and it was all engineered. It didn't just happen because a few people made some mistakes. I mean, I think it was engineered to be that way. Of
course it was. Listen, in communications with Victor Thorne, we went back and forth about a lot of stuff that we didn't do shows on. It was just because of the American Free Press, which I hate.
Right.
And we talked about it, and, he shared some information with me, and it was true. He said, look, he says, every nation, okay? Every nation is in debtor status, all right? And every nation's on fiat currency. Now, this is laying the playing field straight for whatever kind of global economic takeover can happen. I still contend that all we're doing is living on borrowed time, on thin air. And whenever the powers that be want to call in it, then we're going to have a crash. We are in a situation, and you said this. I mean, let's really look at the way things are. Let's forget whatever we were told by all the mainstream networks. I don't even care about the stuff that goes on with the Patriots. Look at this. You see that number? We can't pay it off. It is impossible to pay off. So let's cut the shit, but nobody does that. They keep playing with this thing like, we can deal with it. So when all the major heads down in D.C. get together, what do? All they did, Larry, was kick the can, the problem, three blocks down the street. It's still with us. We're screwed.
Well, if you'll remember back in January 2009, I came on the show and we did, that was the week that was type thing. And I remember saying on the show that nothing is going to happen. They were having the hearings in Congress about the crisis, the economic crisis. And they had the people from Wall Street up there. They had the big financial people from Goldman Sachs, et cetera. And I believe it was a guy from Goldman Sachs basically just kind of gave that panel the finger, figuratively. He was like, yeah, we got your money, we screwed you, we're down the road, what are you going to do about it? That was the attitude he took.
Yeah.
And like I told you then, nothing's going to happen. They're not going to do a thing to anybody on Wall Street. It's all going to get shoved under the rug, and that's what happened. Here we are, a year and a half later, almost 2 years later, and none of those people have gone to jail.
Nope.
I guess 2.5 years later, none of those people have gone to jail.
No, except for what's his face.
Yeah.
Oh, I did an article on him, and now he's out of my memory.
Yeah, I mean, they had to make a scapegoat out of somebody. But, there are tons of people that are sitting in Wall Street, in Wall Street offices and boardrooms right today that are, they are part and parcel. I use that too much. They are part of the conspiracy to screw the American public. That's all it was, man. They took us for a ride. They did it intentionally. It was a move to gobble up the money that people had to make themselves more wealthy, and they did it, and they got away with it.
Right.
And our government will do nothing. Yeah, go vote for the Republicans. They've really done a lot about it. Go vote for the Democrats. They really busted their tails doing something about it. Nobody. I mean, have you noticed, during the time when they had to, whether you're for or against the health care bill and all that, it took, a year and a half for them to hash that out, and they fought it back and forth. And the whole thing with the budget, fought it back and forth in all this heated rhetoric. Man, they couldn't wait to vote to bail out Wall Street. $13 trillion they voted. That's what I've heard the estimate of how much money had to be spent for the bailout. They don't really even know because they haven't really been keeping close accounting of it. Can you imagine that? It's like trillions of dollars are going to people. We don't even really know the dollar amount of how much they got. They're screwing. These are private corporations, private institutions. And if you had a department store or a grocery store and you didn't manage it well and you had it in a bad location, whatever, and you weren't making money and you had to go bust, they're darn sure not going to come there and offer you a bailout, even though you're an honest businessman. But they can get these crooks that went in there and just screwed us. I mean, how stupid is this? They were offering mortgages to people for a $250,000, $300,000 house, a mortgage loan to these people, and they wouldn't even have a job, or they have a job with like a minimum wage job. I mean, there's no way. They know that's not going to work. They expect that loan to go into default.
Larry, step back from the phone. Drink a glass of water. And do it.
Sorry about that. I get heated up.
Larry, who the hell are you talking to?
I know. The whole thing, it's just like...
It's nuts.
Yeah, it's like people can't wake up and figure this out. I mean, that's what amazes me. I'm going to vote for oh, man. Oh, I can't wait to vote for Rick Perry or Michelle Bachmann or I want to vote for Obama. I mean, who are you going to... None of these people are going to do anything for you. They don't work for you. They work for the oligarchy that runs this country. And the only way out is up. The only thing you can do is to put your faith and trust in Jesus Christ, who died upon the cross for you. That's it. And these things are working themselves out because Satan is taking control of the world, and it is his minions that are really working the show behind the scenes. It's no question that the Third Reich was part of an attempt to another attempt at the Holy Roman Empire, another attempt at a satanic totalitarian government. No question. I mean, it was almost successful. And this last one will be successful until the Lord Jesus Christ comes back and destroys it when he comes at the Battle of Armageddon.
in the time we got left, and I mean, no, I agree with you totally, and I still shake my head in amazement about those who somehow, some way, can absolutely obviate what Jesus Christ said in terms of government, violence, all forgotten about.
Yeah.
And Bill Johnson came on with Gordon, and we did an audio, and we were talking about that. I never said that the New Testament vacates the whole Old Testament. That's foolish. I never said that. But remember, there were things that have been supplanted by the New Testament. We are not living under the law anymore. Hello?
Right.
Do you want to do that, folks? After Jesus Christ died and arose, to secure our salvation, do you want to go back to the law? Is that not spitting in Jesus Christ's face? I'm sorry, I don't think that's too radical to say. Was that shoving his head down to wash our feet again? Now, I know what that says, but you know what? It's come to the point, and listen, I got a lot of hard bark on me, Larry. You know it, I know it, it's okay.
Yeah.
Well, it's not okay, but the thing is, I understand it, but my point is still this. How can preachers with bad teaching and bad doctrine have captured so many supposed Christians, including those close to me? And I'm like, do you ever read the book? Or do you just go there?
Because they're preaching from the flesh. They're not in accordance with Jesus Christ and his teachings. They're teaching things that sound good to people, and people like it, and they tickle their ears with this crap. They're not in accordance with what Jesus Christ has taught. They are not living the life. They are not walking the walk. It's all crown and no cross.
Well,
and it's a lot of bull, and they're leading people to do things that are wrong and outside the will of God and are sin. And that it's like these people that are pumping up here in America these so-called Christians who want to pump up this war with Islam.
That's what, yeah, exactly.
Where did they get that? That's the Crusader spirit. That's what the old Roman Catholic Church did, Vatican did in Europe back in the times of the Crusades. They would go into villages and they would start talking to the people there. They would give speeches about how evil the Muslims are and how that we had to take back Jerusalem for Christ, and they would get people pumped up. People would be given weapons right there, whatever kind of makeshift weapons they could get them, and they would start marching off, and they would bring them to a port, put them on a ship, and take them down there and start fighting the Muslims, and a lot of them would get slaughtered because they didn't have any military training to start with.
But today,
it's just pure evil is what it is.
Are we not dealing with a misuse, a misapplication of the Old Testament? In other words, Jesus came and said, why are you guys getting involved with government? Render unto Caesar what's Caesar. What do I care about this? Mm-hmm. And I still contend when there was another exchange.
And he said, my kingdom is not of this world.
Thank you. But that doesn't get through. Also, the time when he said to, when Peter was running his mouth, I forget where they came into. Was Capernaum? I don't know. It doesn't matter. But what I find strange too, there's the word. What happened was, if you remember, wherever they go, Peter goes out and runs his mouth.
Right.
And then they come back and he said, the king wants a tribute. And doesn't Jesus say to Peter, well, who pays taxes? The king's children or strangers? And Peter says, strangers. And he says, well, go out to the fish. Remember that?
Right.
What that says to me is, we're strangers. We're not the king's children. Once again, we are not of this earth. So my point is, where in the world in the scriptures did Christ ever say, okay, here's your commission. Go run for governor. Get involved in politics.
Exactly.
I mean, what am I missing here? What he's saying is, let them have what they have. And no other than Satan tells Jesus, right? And I always say this, Luke 4:5. What does Satan tell Jesus? These are my kingdoms. He shows them all at one time.
And Jesus did not dispute that because he had been given dominion over this. He has dominion over this world. He controls these governments. He controls these evil men and these evil movements.
Until the appointed time.
Exactly.
And the thing is, you cannot create theocracy, and that's what these Christians are doing, and it is a colossal waste of time. In fact, to the point where I got to believe that their intentions are not good, that they are definitely messengers, if you know what I'm saying.
That's exactly why I started the show off with that quote from Blavatsky from The Secret Doctrine, where she's talking about the fallen angels and Lucifer and Satan. And, that's really what this this world has been captured by those people for an appointed time, and they are running things, and they are destroying the souls of so many millions of people who are going along with ideas which are outside the will of God. And the worst part about it is the religious elements are the most vehement, preachers of those doctrines. You've even got Breivik. He's going in there, and they want to label him a fundamentalist Christian.
Yeah, right.
Guy committed act of mass murder. I mean, I'm sorry. What kind of machine gun did Jesus carry? Give me a break. This is nonsense.
But don't you find, though, Larry, and this is the point, and we said this kind of kiddingly in a show that was live.
Yeah.
When Ramsey was with us, but but let's take the fun, the goofiness out of this. The point is, every religion has its radicals, and that's meant to be. And all those radicals.
I heard you guys discussing that. You're right.
And all the radicals get the front page. They get all the sound bites. So every religion can look ridiculous in the eyes of the masses, so that we will be turned to, hey, let's forget the whole thing. Now, this ecumenism that's being advanced by the Vatican, all that means to me is everybody's going to be dropped into one bucket and they're going to worship the state. Mm-hmm. Like, let's forget this Jewish thing.
And eventually it'll become emperor worship, just like it was in the times of Rome,
without a doubt,
of the old Roman Empire. You'll have emperor worship, and that will be the Antichrist. It's just that simple. I mean,
I agree.
One of the titles of the Pope is Supreme Pontiff,
the Vicar of Christ. They always like that one.
Yeah, I mean,
but he's a front guy.
Yeah. I'm not, I used to believe that the Antichrist would be a political figure only, and that the Pope would be the false prophet. Of course they're both, doing the work of Satan, but now I wonder if the Antichrist might not be a pope. I mean, it's possible. I mean, back in the times of the Protestant Reformation, all the old founders of the Protestant Reformation believed that a pope would be the Antichrist. But I don't know. That's just speculation on my part. I can't prove that by the Bible.
Well, but again, and Paul and I go back about this too. There is no Antichrist mentioned in Revelation. But the point's still clear. There will be a figure that will be charismatic. Mm-hmm. It will be someone behind or with something that can, and let's remember this, League of Nations after World War I? Okay. United Nations after World War II?
Right.
Very good. Now we're going to have another one.
The Third World War.
And after that, whoever comes out, whatever comes out.
You will have world government, and it will be seated in Europe. I think the Europeans are going to sit this one out. As far as the Third World War, the United States is going to get crushed on the rocks over there. I think that the Russians are probably going to be involved in it, and they're going to bat us around the head, and we're going to have to slink back to America, a beaten nation that is destroyed economically and even physically to some extent.
Every way, shape, or form, without a doubt. Now,
and that breaks my heart, but that's just the way it is. There's still vestiges of patriotism within me. And I still believe that my father's generation did the right thing by fighting the Nazis. I know the other day when my father was buried that they played taps for him because he was a World War II veteran, and they had the honor guard out there, and they presented my mother with the flag. And that meant a lot to me. I know it would have meant a lot to my dad. And I believe that his generation was a great generation, if not the greatest generation, because they were forged in the Great Depression, which was followed by the Second World War, and they did what they thought was right, and they tried to create a decent place, a decent country for us. And I believe they were a heroic generation, but unfortunately they were lied to, and they were deceived into believing in the cause, and America did everything right, and America didn't do everything right. America was just part and parcel of the world system, just like any other nation. But there was, some. I'll just leave it alone with that.
No. And let me say this. Look, and my dad hit World War II in Korea.
Yeah.
And all right, look, you are as conflicted as I am, but here's the point.
Right.
Those people believed in their government, and they were not cowards.
That's true.
And so all I would say is this.
They stopped, in the case of the Nazis and the Japanese, they stopped some horrible atrocities from continuing to occur, and they, even though they tried to, they were not able to bring them to justice because they were betrayed.
Right.
But they did stop the Nazi war machine, and they did free the people of Europe.
Well,
and the people of the Far East from the Japanese.
I've had these imaginative discussions with somebody who doesn't exist, in which somebody would say to me, "Are you telling me that there are people in France, in Italy, in Germany, in fact, in the Scandinavia, who are not happy to see U.S. troops in there to combat what was upon them?" What am I going to say? No, of course. So my point is that there were a lot of people that looked at U.S. soldiers as being liberators, and they certainly were.
At that time, yes.
So, what are you going to say? Oh, by the way, you guys were idiots? No, not at all. But there still is that same thing in behind everything, and that is we were all lied to. It didn't necessarily have to happen. All I can say is that for those who believed in what they were told, and certainly there's a lot of people in Europe that were happy that the Yanks showed up, they were lied to.
Yeah.
But what they did was real, and that should never be forgotten. And I know,
no.
I mean, I know Rush says, well, you can't be for the soldiers if you're against the war, and I hate him. I hate him with every fucking gene in my body.
He is an element of the worst scumbag variety in this country. Here's a man who is such a hypocrite. He pumps up the war and wants people to participate in this war, and yet during his own youth, during the Vietnam era, he didn't go. So why is he, chastising other people and saying they should do these things when he doesn't do it himself?
Oh, just give me some more Oxycontin.
And he used to get on his show and talk about how they should execute drug dealers, and yet he's addicted to a painkiller, an opiate.
Yeah.
This guy is such a crud. I got no words to describe the clown.
Well, I tell you what, we're gonna run probably up to 2 hours, and that's okay. And we have a little time here. But first of all, yes, I agree with you totally. That not because you're on and because your dad just died. And he was a veteran, or my dad was a veteran. He's died. Well, he's been gone now for 30 years. The thing is, these people said, "What's the problem?" They were told, they understood it, and they went out and they kicked ass. Mm-hmm. But the thing is like the goddamn government. They lie and they lie and they lie. Yet people who were under repression in Europe just love to see the Yanks come in. And if you remember, and you may not have been around for those years, when we had Rita on, who's a Christian.
No, I don't know Rita.
She was born in Germany.
Yeah.
Her father wanted out. I'm sorry, I got it wrong. She was not born in Germany. Her father was a cook in Germany, and he got conscripted into the army. Mm-hmm. But he got the advantage of going over to the United States on a ship, and he jumped ship. He goes to Buffalo. He raises, he marries, and I think he has Rita. He may not have had the other children yet. I'm not sure. But dig this. Whatever the INS was at that time, they caught the guy.
Oh, no.
But dig this. So they deport him back into, get this, 1936 Germany.
Oh, wonderful.
So here he is. He thought he had it beat. He's back in Germany, and because he was a cook, the Reich took him as a cook, and he did not, have to take part in everything. Now, here's the deal. And I think he has 2 or 3 other children. And what happens is, after it's over, Rita, the firstborn, let's see. Okay, she was born in Buffalo. He did have her there, but she had to go back along with her mom and dad.
So basically, she grew up during the era of the Third Reich.
And but she was an American citizen.
Right.
So there's the thing. So what happened was, when it was all over, she was allowed to come over first. Mm-hmm. But the point was, and this is where I'm going with, sorry that the details are a little fuzzy, but it's a great story.
Yeah.
But she goes, look, we go over there, we got clean clothes. We're in Hitler's Youth. We don't know what that means. It's like Boy Scouts and Girl Scouts to us.
Yeah.
She said, but they didn't really know what was going on, but they were fed with this thing about, look, we are superior and we will bring our culture to other countries. And they were like, okay, fine. That sounds good to us. Then they realized later on what was going on. But
right.
She said at the end, when they were being bombed and stuff, she was in a rural community not far from a city, and I don't know which one it was in sight. But in the end, they knew it was all over. And she said, and you can understand this, being a female, she said she knew the Yanks or the Russians were going to get to them first, and they were praying it was the Yanks. Mm-hmm. If you can understand that.
I understand it perfectly because the Yanks are a lot less likely to rape and murder than the Russians.
So we can.
The reason the Russians, who I'm not going to say the Russians are bestial people, but the reason the Russians were so cruel to the Germans is because the Germans had done the same thing to their women. And as a result, it was like, okay, we'll pay them back. That's not right. I'm not saying it's right, and I don't think any decent man would do that.
But we can understand it.
But we understand it, yeah.
Yeah, it's turnabout, it's fair play.
Right.
So I mean,
that's the way they looked at it, and they were not discouraged by their officers. Whereas if an American was caught, and Americans did rape some of the German women, it's a fact. But if they were caught, they were summarily, prosecuted for it and were put in prison. I mean, just like any rapist here in the United States.
But this goes back.
Yes, there was wholesale rape and murder of the German women, and that's wrong. Period. At the end. I mean, that's just wrong.
But this goes back to what we were saying about. I mean, I don't like Brokaw with The Greatest Generation because I don't like him.
Yeah.
He's got a whole thing going on too. But I will have to admit, and I'll say this, and I've not done this on the air before, but there is a movie producer who would like to be interviewed by me, and he's doing all World War II veterans. And I'm going to be candid. I mean, I want him to come on because I believe in what he's done, and I believe in those people he's going to capture. But
that'd be great, Biz. I'd really enjoy hearing that.
But Larry, here's the problem, and I got to tell him.
Okay.
I'm anti-war.
Yeah.
But you understand all the caveats.
Well, heck, my father was anti-war.
Okay. But I want to interview him, but I've got to tell him I don't want blowback on you. If people say, do you know what this guy's about? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But do I want to come on? I mean, I had the Dumases on, if you remember that, about the Korean War. And what they did to this guy when do you remember? I don't know if you ever saw the show, but I mean Kerry and McCain.
Yeah, I heard that story. They just turned their backs on them.
God, you can see it, folks. You can see it on YouTube. Put in.
Yeah, it's I mean the hypocrisy is so deep, and the American people in the propaganda grid. I know Paul Sandu does a good thing on how the propaganda grid works. Mm-hmm. And he relates it to. He's a big movie fan. And relates it to the Matrix, and that's really what's going on in this country.
Yes,
we have been subjected to that since we were children, and it was all based upon. You had a show from your archives about Freud's nephew.
Yes,
gosh.
it was Edward Bernays.
Edward Bernays, and Bernays was the guy who really started modern propaganda.
Yep.
And it all came from America and was being done long. Do you know that Goebbels, even though Bernays was a Jew, that Goebbels praised him and said, that he's a genius and that he learned a great deal from his work? So, I mean, there you go.
I also want to tell folks, interesting you said this, but I've resurrected that interview with Larry Tye, the biographer of Bernays, because I had on an individual by the name.
I heard that one too, yeah.
Okay, Peter O'Rourke came on and talked about mine ops, and what I did is I put up, because he was aware of Bernays' influence as well, which few people are, and they really should be aware of that because that stuff works today.
It really does. I mean, it's what's happening now. It's just a little more sophisticated, and that's all. Been honed down, and made a little more palatable. And in today's world, it's much more effective because of the multimedia going on, social media. You've got to get involved in that. Get yourself a Facebook page. Let everybody know all the facts about your life so that they can spy upon you if they wish.
I'm going to tell you right now, I'm not going to go up there until they have an ass book page. And you can kiss it. You can kiss it every time you want.
Here's my butt, and you can kiss it.
I mean, for whatever it was worth.
Oh, somehow I don't think that's going to catch on.
I'll get emails.
Oh, man. Woo.
But I mean,
you're going to get me out. You will get mail.
Oh, I'll get suggestions. I mean, somebody's going to want to work on that.
Yeah.
But
yeah, they can go ahead with Rudy Giuliani and.
I'm telling you, folks.
The mafia thing. I'm thinking to myself, I bet Rudy Giuliani, it's like, I don't know. I don't want to get into that. I don't want to mess with those people. I don't want somebody named, Big Tony and Guido showing up at the door.
All right. As we pull out of this, I will say this. Don't discount the fact. And I mean, do we really care? In a sense, no. But what all I'm doing about this and saying, check out Giuliani and Jeb Bush, is just to mention a certain way of propagandizing and mind-opping people. I don't care who really runs. What I'm interested in is how they do a bait and switch. Whoever comes out early will never be there at the end. And what I have to laugh is like Mitch Romney comes out like, am I not good looking? Are my teeth not great? Hey, listen, Mitt, take a hike.
Yeah, it's a popularity contest,
Michelle
who
Bachmann
appeals to the women's vote,
Michelle Bachmann and what's her face, Palin?
Yeah.
Okay,
Palin.
thanks, girls, but go away.
I got to admit, I think Palin's a nice-looking woman, but boy, you talk about a knucklehead. I mean, it's unbelievable. She's like what is it, Chatty Cathy, where they used to pull the string and it talked?
Yeah.
There you go.
No, she's an organ grinder's chimpanzee. But here's the problem. Too much hairspray, too early in the 80s.
Yeah.
All right? Okay. Yes. Yeah, right, Sarah, great. Where the hell, you don't even know where you went. Go away.
I can see Russia from my,
Which makes me an international.
I can see the law office across the street from me. Doesn't make me a lawyer.
Christmas. I don't know.
Oh.
All right. All right, but be that all as it may, as we return back to what's going on here, we are definitely, I would say, especially because of this weekend. Time goes by as I wrote in emails to everybody. You may have seen it. If you don't, you'll see it on Monday. Time goes by and things go slowly and it really imperceptibly does anything, and then one day, bang, things happen.
Right.
I think this weekend was one of those whoops. And I don't know what life is going to be like on the other side of it.
What you're saying is you reach a certain apex, and then boom, things happen after that.
Yeah, and I mean, for those who keep
high water mark.
Well, all right, look, for all the newspapers and the stations, especially in the Patriot purview, you have to be sensational all the time, so they're always working everybody. And, after a while, everybody gets you get a little tired. But the point is, things happen, but they don't happen as quickly as, certain prognosticators say so, but they do happen. And right now, this is a very interesting time, especially as we enter the fall and for the months we have left as to what exactly is going to happen. It could get really nasty, but we can also be taken down bit by bit for the rest of this year into next year. Who knows? Mm-hmm. But no matter what it is, there are two things that are for sure. One, we are going in a direction we don't want to.
Right.
And the solutions will never be good for everybody.
Well, we're moving farther to the right. There's no question about it. And the Europeans are definitely moving farther to the right. And I could kind of sum this up, read a brief statement here. From an article called Massacre in Norway by Andrew Miller. The xenophobic ideas that were once characteristic only of fascist radicals are now working themselves into the mainstream of European politics. The fact that far-right politicians can voice extreme views with a veneer of acceptability actually makes far-right leaders of today more dangerous than the skinheads of yesterday, says Simon Tilford, chief economist for the Center for European Reform, a London-based think tank that favors European integration. The far-right movements that we're seeing, not all of them, but a few of them, pose a greater challenge than those we saw in the 1980s and 90s, Tilford said. They're expressing extreme positions, but in a far more polished way, and there's a danger of such views becoming more socially accepted. Mainstream politicians are now expressing anti-immigration viewpoints as a means of consoling the populace. President Sarkozy banned the wearing of burqas in France earlier this year in the face of rising public support for Le Pen's National Front Party. Sarkozy, British Prime Minister David Cameron, and German Chancellor Angela Merkel have all expressed concern in recent months about national ailments associated with Islamic integration and the failures of multiculturalism. Well, right there, I think you see that there's going to be, based upon two things, which are working together. They're moving the politics to the right, to the far right in Europe, and that will eventually mean a dictatorship of a fascist variety, in my opinion. The reason it's moving in that direction is because of massive immigration, which is creating social problems along with economic hardship. You get those two together, and it's the same thing in this country, a little bit different angle with the Hispanics. But what's happening is they're moving everything to the right and in anticipation of what I believe will be the New World Order's Holy Roman Empire, revived Roman Empire.
Yeah, and some, honestly, we understand what's being done to us, but we understand that most Americans or most Europeans who are traditionally, European generational residents, you don't like it. And, in a way you shouldn't. But it is forced. It's allowed to happen. And it's done because they know eventually, the old example I made, rub two cats' asses with sandpaper, throw them in a box, and wonder why they don't fight.
Yeah.
But I look here and I understand it. And yet I understand that most people are here just to get a better life. How in the world can you argue with that? I understand fully. But we also understand that there are certain kind of, shall we say, parameters where if, you don't have the jobs and you have more people coming in, we're going to probably have a problem. And it's been introduced like that, and it. And that's why I don't promote race Bell's work as like I like it, like I would promote, and I wouldn't promote this either. And that is, what was that quintessential? And this is funny. The Collins brothers accused me of reading patriot literature or militia literature, and I never did. What is the Turner Diaries? Remember that?
Oh yeah, the Turner Diaries by William Pierce.
Yeah, I never read it.
Yeah.
I never read it. I don't give a crap.
I know what it's about.
Yeah.
I wouldn't put money into. I wouldn't buy that tract. That piece of filth.
But my point is that stuff is put out there, and it's going to be consumed.
Oh yeah.
And those who are motivated.
Well, McVeigh was, and I'm going to talk about in our next episode, if there is a next episode, I'm going to talk about domestic terrorism and assassinations, and McVeigh will be one of the topics. And McVeigh was very much influenced by that book, along with many others. And
in fact, I tell you what, think about it now. After you've been involved with Vyzygoth, if that wasn't bullcrap too.
Oh yeah.
If McVeigh really, you know what I mean?
He was set up. He was mind controlled, I believe. He was set up big time. He was a useful idiot.
But in the end, what we're facing, and you know it too, and we've said it all, the masses, the herd, as Bernays would call them, will not divine between real and unreal. And so if they're given radical figures from every religion, they will be taught to hate religion.
Exactly.
Right. And it goes right down the line. So what we're looking at, and again, like I said, I don't mean to uphold Ray Spell's work, but what I think somehow, some way he knew that this was what would happen and that it would cause trouble, and it's meant to cause trouble. Like you said, the segmentation of the United States, if it does happen, it'll probably happen after the war.
Right.
Because there'll be nothing left of us anyway. And actually, my Mexican friends, you may not want to inherit certain parts of the United States because they'll be smoking for the next 2,000 years.
Exactly.
So it's like, you look at this and you say, I understand it all. You cannot go out in the middle of an interstate and stop traffic with reason.
No.
But that's what I feel it's happening. It's like everybody wants to go. They want to fight. Everybody's been exercised and ready to go. And, you'd like to be a voice of reason, you're not going to be listened to. And that's when I think you and myself and a lot of people shake their heads. And if they could get, themselves together to piss on a fire, call in the dogs, and go someplace safe, they would. But you know what? There is no place in the earth. And like you said, honest to goodness, this is not satisfactory to non-Christians. I understand it. But the only way up, only way out is up. I mean, and that doesn't mean we want to see things go to hell, but they're going to go to hell.
Yeah, it's inevitable. And it's not just being a pessimist. It's not
realist.
It's being a realist. And the great thing about it is, though, we have a hope. And we know that this whole scenario works out for the betterment, and eventually becomes a beautiful thing, in that there will be a new heaven and a new earth, and that mankind, that part of mankind which follows Jesus Christ, will inherit this beautiful kingdom, and we will inherit eternal life. And that's the beauty of it all, because the Bible says in John 3:16 that for God so loved the world that He gave His only begotten Son, that whosoever believeth in Him should not perish but have eternal life. And I mean, that's really all that it's about. I mean,
that's it.
There isn't anything more important than that.
Instead of getting for people, whether you believe or you don't believe, it doesn't matter. If you're Jewish, if you're Muslim, whatever you are, Buddhist, it doesn't matter. The thing is, if you want to do something positive, forget politics. You know what? If there's somebody hungry, feed them. If there's somebody thirsty, give them a drink. And that goes for all of us. Forget everything else. There's people wounded out there. There's going to be more casualties of our society. And if you just really want to do something, just screw the politics stuff, because they don't care. Just go ahead and alleviate suffering. That's it. That's all you have to do.
Yeah.
And that's enough. And no matter what, God, understand what I'm saying here, Larry, you understand, okay?
Right.
Whatever, God, whatever it is, if you care about people, deal with the people. Forget the organizations. They're worthless. So,
and for all these people that want to pump up a war, think about who really gets hurt in a war. It's not the big guys at the top. It's a lot of very innocent people, helpless people, women and children and elderly people. You see these scenes from Iraq sometime where you see these are very, very poor, helpless, defenseless people that are getting their legs blown off, and their family members are being killed, and it's an awful mess. It's a terrible thing,
Mm-hmm.
And that whole war was pumped up on false pretenses, It's just disgusting.
But we liberated them, didn't we?
Yeah.
Wow, that's great liberation.
Yeah,
right?
we've really done a great job over there. They really like us too.
Yeah, this is going to go on forever and ever. So
yeah.
Listen, thanks for coming on, because a lot of stuff, as you had mentioned, is very salient as you've gone back to your research, and as we've also encountered the last couple of days. I would say that, Larry, at least for this period, things are being accelerated, and by the time we get back again, maybe in a week or two, it'll be interesting to see where this all falls.
Yeah.
But I think inexorably we're being drawn into a certain vortex. And I'm sorry, but, look, I want good guys to win. I'm all for it. But, who are the good guys in the end?
I think it's going to be very soon that the dollar takes a big tumble. And things are going to get a whole lot worse than they are now economically.
All right, so you're saying I should buy my AFL memorabilia really soon? And I tell you what, knowing you were going to come on,
yeah,
and knowing that, you're coming out of a sore spot emotionally because your dad has passed.
Yeah.
I visited Angie's site.
Yeah.
And our interview is still up there.
That's cool.
It is nice. It really is.
That's cool. I really like that guy a lot. He's a lot
no
of fun
doubt
to
about
talk to.
it. But he's a good spirit, and that was a good time, by the way.
Yeah, he
right?
is. Just a decent guy.
So, things happen. They'll happen to us, but the sun will come up tomorrow, and it'll go down that night. And, and we just have to persevere.
Yeah.
It's not a good thing. But also, people, you live one life once, and as the story goes, if you work it right, once is enough.
Yeah.
So, in deference to you and your loss, and, Stella lost her mom recently, 86, neighbor of ours, great woman. that's a cycle of life, but you got to enjoy it no matter what happens. So, bro, I tell you what, I have loved the interviews all through all the years and the emails even before that. And we'll continue with this because obviously things are emerging in the EU, and you are definitely not on the wrong track.
Yeah. It took me a while to convince anybody.
Well, myself and 4 others are with you.
Yeah.
No, that's not true. And I will send along all the good emails.
Okay.
And I'll send the bad ones too.
Yeah, okay.
But anyway, so thanks for being with us, and I'll tell you what, I'll see you shortly.
All right.
Take care of yourself, bro.
Yeah. God bless you.
Unbeknownst to Larry, after we got done doing this recording, he lost his dad. And as I said, we've had some other folks who have lost their parents. I played this a long time ago, prior to a Father's Day. And it's pretty powerful, but it's not only just for like fathers and sons. It's like for daughters and moms and fathers and sons and for mothers. I won't say anything more, but I did hear this one beautiful Sunday morning when Lady Biz and I were kind of newly married, and I was going down and playing some softball tournament for our newspaper, which had a league throughout New Jersey. And we're going on a reasonable drive, and it was just a nice day. And this song came on, what was then WNEW-FM, and we both listened to it. And I didn't make it dry-eyed. I don't want to spoil it, so I won't say too much. But there's a certain amount of, shall we say, magic in this song, and that's what I choose to close this audio out with, though Larry did not know.